Cha Yui-jae used to be South Korea's #1 hunter, which sounds like a flex right up until you learn what it cost him: a West Sea rift that swallowed 44 of his comrades and left him to kill the boss alone. The reward for surviving that was getting flung 8 years into the future, into a world so calm it almost insults him. So the man an entire country would mourn quietly, files the legend away, ties on an apron, and goes to work the counter at a restaurant, because the safest place to hide a national hero, apparently, is behind a part-timer's name tag. Then there is the other guy on the card, Lee Se-young of the Wave Guild, a hunter whose poison abilities and signature gas mask have somehow turned him into a cult icon. He is the inscrutable, terrifyingly determined type who hunts down rogue hunters for a living and feels nothing about it, right up until he crosses paths with a man who can control poison exactly like he can. That is all it takes. Se-young decides he has to know every single secret this stranger is keeping, and he is the kind of obsessed that does not let go. This is the man at the worst moment of his life, standing in an orange jacket over a rift caving in around him, a long glowing red blade still sparking in his fist because he just put down the thing that killed everyone he came in with. He won. That is the flex. The catch is that winning left him gray-haired, gutted, and barely upright, and the only question he can manage as the embers die is whether he is actually going to walk out of this one alive. So the man who just outlived a rift that wiped out everyone else wakes up face down in a junkyard, and the deadliest threat he now faces is an empty stomach. He drags himself upright and shuffles into the nearest restaurant like a zombie, no heroics left in the tank, just enough strength to beg for something to eat. They put a steaming bowl of hangover soup in front of him. He eats, and the man who just fought the monster that killed his whole team lets out one long sigh, the deadliest hunter in the room, finally undone by soup. The news finally spells it out for him: a grade. One rift opened off the West Sea. Everyone who went in was declared dead, and that was 8 years ago, which is how Yui-jae learns he skipped almost a decade and washed up in a future that no longer needs saving. And honestly, he is fine with that. No more being dragged around by calls from the management office. No more monsters, just dishes to carry and hangover soup to ladle. He decides this quiet little life would not be so bad. Which is, of course, the exact moment a man in a gas mask leans in way too close, studies his face, and asks the worst possible question: have we met somewhere before? And just like that, the calm he talked himself into starts coming apart. This country still tells stories about one vanished legend, the hidden power national hero everyone believes is long dead. The stories have one small problem: he is alive, he is standing over a dead toad in a back alley, and the only tragedy on his mind is the groceries the fight cost him. The national hero an entire nation mourns now ladles hangover soup part-time, and he would very much like everyone to keep believing he is gone. A big purple toad has the hooded hunter cornered in a dim alley while he is just standing there with a supermarket bag of green onions in one hand. It lashes out its tongue. He sighs, steps inside the attack, and puts a single fist through its face hard enough to drop it dead on the spot. Then this supposedly gone S-class awakener looks down. And the only casualty he actually mourns is the leeks, because leeks are expensive and has just got singed. A cleanup team finally reaches the alley and stops cold because the swamp toad is dead, dropped clean with the kind of speed that should not be possible. One of them sweeps a handheld detector over the corpse and gets nothing back, not a single trace, not even a hint of the killer's power, so they land on the only explanation left: this was a real pro. What none of them clock is that their pro already strolled off with a bag of leeks before they ever showed up. A hooded man walks straight toward a glass, walled downtown intersection where police are holding back a crowd and an announcement is calling in a rift and shutting the traffic down. Everyone else is pressing in to watch. He takes one look at the cordon, the alarm, the crowd filming, and quietly turns and walks the other way. The one guy who clearly is not afraid of any of this is the one guy refusing to go anywhere near it, and he is not about to tell you why. Officially, this man is dead, a national hero his whole country still mourns. Unofficially, he is alive, annoyed, and standing over a fresh kill he has to deal with. So after putting down the gross, slimy giant toad himself, he picks up the phone and reports it like a clueless bystander who just stumbled on a dead monster some hunter dumped and left. Then he hangs up and clears out before the team can show. Because the hardest part of staying dead is doing your own cover up and remembering to act surprised. A blonde regular throws up a peace sign, orders 2 hangover soups with rice, and then very innocently asks the hooded part, Timer, to bring a second bottle of soju. He shuts that down instantly, because by his count it is already her second bottle. He watched her quietly slip the first one into her inventory earlier when she thought nobody was looking. She tries to play dumb about it. The rule posted on the wall does not, capping every table at 2 bottles to head off exactly this kind of fight. So the deadliest reflex this man has left, the one that once made him a legend, is currently aimed at a regular sneaking her own soju past a 2-bottle limit. His co-workers cannot let it go. He spotted that bottle faster than people catch monsters, so the table starts whispering about whether their part-timer is secretly a hunter, then talks itself out of it. A hidden hunter would be making a fortune in dungeons, not hauling boiling bowls for part-time pay. They land on a theory they love: the captain is dying to recruit him the second he awakens, because anyone this sharp-eyed and this strong before awakening is at least B rank after. They are circling the truth, and have it completely backwards, which the man quietly confirms at the sink in back, where he has zero interest in being recruited by some random hunter he most likely awakened years ago, and never once planned to spend his life ladling soup. So back up a few months to the part everyone assumed was his grave. The hunter comes to in a heap of dungeon rubble, dazed and certain that a second ago he was mid-fight, and the memory snaps back a roaring basilisk and his blade buried in its head. Then it clicks. He was inside the rift, and the fact that he can now see the gate at all means he clawed his way back out of it. His only real question is how much time the outside world burned through while he was gone. That answer is a problem for later, because under the night sky, his stomach lets out a growl loud enough to end the moment, and the dead national hero drags himself up out of the rift to chase down the one thing that matters: food. A news broadcast on the wall fills in the gap he slept through, and it is heavier than he is ready for. 8 years back, a grade 5 rift tore open in the West Sea. When it jumped to grade 1, the government threw its best at it. S-rank Hunter J, 14A, ranks 30B ranks, and a week later the rift was sealed. That is the clean version. The man hearing all this goes still, heart-hammering, because he was on that team, and the broadcast's next line is that none of those hunters ever came back. By 3 months after the sealing, the Awakener Management Bureau confirmed not one survived, and on the memorial documentary, Song Joyeon, leader of the Samhar Guild, eulogizes Jay and the 44, who walked into that rift to buy everyone else a future. It all lands strangely, given that one of those 44 is sitting right there, very much alive, listening to his own funeral. He borrows grandma's phone and calls a number he trusts and gets a recording instead, not in service. The sweat starts because that dead line is the proof he has been dodging. It really might be 8 years later, which forces the worst question right behind it, the one he says out loud. Am I really dead? He talks himself off the ledge, decides the director probably just swapped numbers, and lands on a vow. He has to report what happened to the hunters who went in with him, has to go back into that rift. And that is when an old voice surfaces, the mentor who used to call him UJ, telling him he is still young. He does not have to save everyone, and that it is okay to run away. So he does the quietest possible version of all of it. He folds everything he owns into grandma's hands as a deposit he swears he will return for. Looks at a world that turned peaceful without him, decides Hunter J is already dead and can stay that way, and chooses to finally live quietly, right beside a sign that reads, "We're hiring a server and cook." UEJ used to be one of only 2 S-rank hunters around back in the day, and right now he is standing in a shop, reading a hotline poster about turning in awakened criminals, while every public service ad behind it shows off the hunter. All of them seem to be built around Yungbin. His niece, Haeun, drags him out of it. She has picked her book, and the thing she proudly holds up has his own name printed on the cover. which he privately decides is flat, out copyright infringement, since putting a dead man's name on a paperback feels like a lot. He pays the 30,000 won anyway, offers to carry it, and asks if she really wanted it that badly. She did. So the national hero everyone thinks died is now buying merchandise about himself for a kid. After closing, with the place finally empty, Uej lets himself admit the quiet life is working. Nobody from the bureau dragging him to a monster, nobody asking him to die for the city, and that this might be exactly what he was always yearning for. Then comes the but. Grandma's leg has been getting worse by the day. She keeps waving it off as just getting old, and he is quietly terrified it is going to need surgery. The catch is that he already gave everyone he had to the West Sea Rift Foundation back when he thought a quiet life would be cheap. So the plan he lands on is the exact thing he retired to avoid: sneak into a dungeon, grab some byproducts, sell them off, and pay for his grandmother's operation that way. The restaurant phone rings after hours and Uej answers it like a tired owner. They are closed right up until the caller says his name in a voice that is coming apart. It is Grandma, and Haeun is missing. The girl slipped out quiet as a mouse, and nobody knows where she went. He keeps his voice level, tells Grandma to call the police first and rest while he searches too, swears she has nothing to worry about, then talks himself calm with the one fact he trusts, that there has been no emergency rift notification, so there was no accident. Then the apron comes off and the roll comes with it. He pulls a mask over his mouth and switches on a hidden skill, Tracker's Vision, and a glowing scan field blooms out through the walls and across the whole city. Nobody close, so he is out the open door and running before the readout even finishes. He is still combing the city for his niece when his tracking sense locks onto a flame burning so hard he genuinely cannot name an awakened person who ever ran that hot. This reads less like a hunter and more like a monster. And if it is anywhere near Haeun, he has to know now. He runs it down through a misty, street-lit alley, and then reasons his way back off the ledge. A real monster with that kind of power would already be on the news with emergency alerts blasting. So the thing wrapped in fire has to be something else. It is a person in a tactical uniform and gas mask, burning purple and S rancor, exactly like him, whose costume choices he silently rates a terrible concept. He decides the smart move is to slip away and get back to finding Haeun. The smart move does not get a vote, because the masked S rancor turns, locks onto him, and asks what he is doing out here at this hour. A masked man in dark clothes steps out of the dark behind the hunter in a back alley late at night, and the most dangerous thing the hunter is holding is a kitchen ladle. The masked man says he saw everything, including the loser in the apron, then asks point blank whether this is a civilian, and the hunter quietly says yes. So the masked man asks the only sensible follow-up, what kind of civilian is out at this hour carrying a ladle? It is a fair question, and answering it honestly is exactly the one thing this man has spent his whole quiet life learning not to do. The masked man explains himself almost reasonably. His niece has gone missing, and has the hunter maybe seen her around? The hunter says no. Then the masked man spots a third guy in the alley, says, "Hold on, let me ask him too," and answers his own question by knocking the man flat before deciding he doesn't know anything either. The hunter, who clearly clocked that the interview was just an excuse to hit someone, thanks him for the help and tries to leave, and doesn't get to. The worst part of running into a maniac in an alley is how polite you have to stay about it. Then, with no warning, the masked man lunges and comes at the hunter fast, and the hunter's body answers before his brain can stop it, slipping clean out of the way. For a second, it looks like a win. It is the opposite. He immediately curses his own reflexes, because the man who just ghosted that strike like it was a warm-up drill is supposed to be a tired civilian with a ladle, and no civilian alive moves like that. He spent this entire conversation hiding what he is, and his own body just filed the report for him. Done playing nice, the masked man boils it down to two questions. One, that ladle is an undisclosed S-class weapon, right? Two, you're an unregistered awakener, right? The hunter's answer to the first is a deadpan, just an ordinary ladle, which would be a lot more convincing if he weren't at that exact moment, using the ordinary ladle to block a face full of basilisk venom. The masked man clocks the poison, clocks the block, and notes out loud that an unregistered awakener just calmly swatted his attack away. For a man whose entire plan is to be forgettable, the hunter keeps answering every question by accident. Somewhere in the standoff, the masked man demands the hunter's age, gets 24, and completely loses it, not over the awakener stuff, but over being talked to so casually by a younger man. He starts pointedly calling the hunter Hyung himself, daring him to cough up a real name instead. Then his phone rings. Word comes in that the niece has been found, and the hunter takes the out and goes. And only as he is leaving does the masked man finally hand over the one name that mattered all night, Lee Se-young, and promise, almost cheerfully, that he will be seeing the hunter again. Somebody in a gas mask is having a child followed home, and the only thing he wants out of the surveillance is the name of the man she calls Uncle. His people report that she ran straight into the guy's arms, delighted, and that this kind of sighting keeps happening lately, which is exactly the detail that makes him lean in. Because in this city, the most ordinary-looking uncle a little girl runs to is usually the one with the most to hide. To find one specific man, the masked operative runs the entire Awakener database and narrows it to men over 25, around 180 centimeters, awakening rank B or higher, a genuinely competent manhunt. Then, completely seriously, he adds one more filter: also remove anyone with an ugly face. It is the most useful and the most unhinged pair of search terms ever fed into a database, and he means both of them exactly the same amount. The hunter counts 2 men waiting for him in the alley and walks up on them so quietly the art literally labels it silent steps. They never get to use whatever they were sent for. They are still complaining about being stuck on overtime when he decides, screw it, to just knock them out. And a moment later, both are down and dazed. Then he crouches over one of them and politely apologizes before going through the man's wallet, because the takedown was never the point. He wants to know who sent them. The card in that wallet is not from some street crew. It reads Wave Guild, Combat Support Team 1, Rank B, 1 Woo Chong-hyuk, which means a registered guild has people tailing him. The headlines on his screen explain why the heat is climbing. There is a brand, new #1 hunter, Lee Se-young, with columns openly asking whether he can fill the void left by the vanished ace they only call J. The hunter runs the math in a single line and lands on the part that should scare him. The real threat right now is not the guild's errand boys, it is Lee Se-young being the one who finally finds him. The same man who just dropped 2 tails in a back alley is at home. Just UEJ. The one, an old woman, asks to stay the night before she insists she is fine and has to get back to the restaurant for tomorrow's shift. He does not argue. He just notes privately that she is lying because she is still putting more of her weight on her good leg. And these are exactly the people he cannot let anyone touch. So it lands hard when a gloved hand holds a handwritten note up to the light that reads, "Touch them and you're dead." And a voice nearby asks the new #1, Se-young, what he is staring at so intensely. South Korea runs on its hunters, and 3 guilds run the hunters. First, there's Samra, whose guild master Song Jo-hun was the first person to claw all the way up to S rank after awakening, basically proving the ceiling could be broken by hand. Then there's Seo-won, the country's very first official guild, the nerds of the bunch, who have always cared more about research and knowledge than about money or fame. And last there's Wave, summed up by just 2 things, the word elite and one name, Lee Se-young. And when an entire guild is defined by a single man, you can bet everything that follows bends around him. Wave settles in for a bidding meeting and immediately hits a problem nobody can explain. 4 seats are empty, and the answer is that those 4 are flat on their backs in the infirmary where they've been all day. The reason is even better: they came back from somewhere already beaten up, which gets the obvious reaction of who in their right mind beats up our people. Everyone's ready to go find the culprit and return the favor right up until the vice guild master kills it dead. The guildmaster himself gave the order to let it slide and just run the meeting. So 4 of their own get jumped. The official response is nothing. Some poor underling gets stuck briefing the wounded later, and the only question left hanging is who is strong enough to put 4 of them in beds and important enough that the boss wants it buried. The meeting is one breath from over when Lee Sayung stops the whole room with a single weight, and the entire guild braces for some S-rank bombshell. What they get instead is their masked guildmaster earnestly asking if anyone has seen a guy around here in a soju branded apron carrying a ladle about this big kind of delicate, looking with hair that's black or maybe gray. Nobody has the faintest idea who he means, and one member finally asks whether the boss just wandered in from a convenience store. Sayung's entire comeback is a flat useless, which lands beautifully right up until someone points out that he's the one who derailed the whole bid to file a missing person report on an apron, and the guy who slams the table over that hits it hard enough to crack it, then goes very quietly, "Oops." Across town, the most wanted man in Wave's guild master's head is cheerfully asking a customer if he'd like extra chili peppers with his hangover soup. And that customer, one of the very hunters who an hour ago watched their boss describe an apron, a delicate face, and grayish hair, slowly looks up and realizes he is checking every single box. The apron, the delicate appearance, the hair that's, kind of gray. This sweating soup waiter is the Merster hunter. His terrifying guild master has been hunting all day, and the only move our hero can think of is to swallow the panic and very politely ask for a lot of chili peppers. Back at Wave, an S-rank hunter named Youngbin corners Lee Sayung for using the Awakener database on a personal errand, and lays out the law there's an unregistered Awakener loose on the streets. The Registration Act is no joke, and the penalty is brutal. So go do your job. Sayung's reply is to swipe his tablet and drop the part that breaks the room. This man can't be registered, because, as far as the government's most guarded asset, the Awakener database, is concerned, he simply isn't there, not even after Sayung checked again and again all the way down to the bottom rung. And the reason it matters is the part Sayung says, almost fondly, this: nobody blocked his attack and swatted away the spikes that came off the fiend. Which is not something a man who turns up in no records at all is supposed to survive, let alone shrug off. The most dangerous thing this man is dealing with today is a box of hair dye and a homework worksheet. He shows off his fresh dye job to Park Haeun, who signs off on it between asking him whether earthworm is really the answer to question 1, then sends him back to the mirror because the back came out patchy. And there he hits the actual problem: the dye is already fading, because the same recovery ability that made him a legend won't let the color stick. The country's strongest hunter, foiled by his own healing, quietly deciding that if the soup gig ever dries up, he could always go into hairstyling. A normal afternoon ends the second. A message from Park Haeun lights up the shop intercom. There's a weird person at the door. The hunter goes still, because weird from her could mean anything. And then the stranger walks in and answers the question for him. He steps in front of Haeun without a word, tells her to stay back, and clocks something that drops the temperature in the room. This person is in the exact same broken state as one he ran into before. So he gives her one instruction: lock the door the instant he's out, and walk straight toward the thing he was hoping he'd never see twice. Out in the alley, the grinning fiend gets exactly one grin in before the hunter has it by the throat and slams it into the wall. His one concern in the middle of all this isn't winning, it's the noise, because he snaps at the thing to stop laughing so loudly that Park Haeun can hear it from inside. He runs the math the way only a former number 1 does: snapping its neck is the fastest way to end it, and fast means quiet. The fiend drops limp to the pavement, and the only thing that actually unsettles him is the timing, because he was pretty sure these things only ever showed up at night. With the body cooling, the hunter does the most ordinary thing imaginable and just searches it on his phone and gets nothing back. 0 results on creatures he has now fought twice. That blank screen is louder than any monster. Because something this obvious being scrubbed clean means somebody is keeping the hunters quiet on purpose. Which leaves him stuck on the one piece that doesn't fit the masked man who warned him, had him dead to rights, and let him walk instead. If the whole game is silence, killing him would have been simpler than trusting him to stay shut. So why is he still breathing? A few days later, that quiet kill lands on an examination table in a high-tech lab, and the silver-haired Dr. Nam Woojin walks the masked Lee Sayung through it. The caved-in face is a distraction, he explains. The real cause of death was a snapped neck, which is the impossible part, because mutated fiends are juiced up past anything ordinary strength can handle. Yet somebody snapped this one's anyway, and left it for a panicking civilian to find. It turned up near the same junkyard alley as the last one, its spine bent in a shape Nam has never seen, like it hit something extremely hard. They run the entire database against it and get back exactly nothing. And to the grinning man behind the mask, that blank result is the best news all week, because a body their files can't explain finally gives them a lead. None of them realize the something extremely hard was a wall, and the man who used it is currently in a bathroom, losing a fight with his hair dye. Some mornings just feel wrong the second you open your eyes, and the soup shop owner's first warning that today is one of them is that he wakes up weirdly well rested, which for him never happens. So he rolls out of bed onto the floor and tells his voice assistant Nextby to pull up his horoscope, and the reading that comes back is grim enough that he ends up squinting at it and asking out loud whether that was a fortune or a murder warning. He decides the day sounds rough, resolves to keep his head down and be careful, which is exactly the kind of plan the universe loves to test. The bad omen walks in wearing a purple-lensed gas mask, telling the owner he got the letter that was sent to him, while the rest of the room whispers in disbelief that this famously reclusive man, the one who supposedly never eats out, is sitting in a hangover soup shop of all places. He ignores the clean seats entirely, plants himself at an uncleaned table, and waves off any suggestion that he move, because from right there he can see the TV, and apparently a good view of the screen outranks a wiped-down table any day. So the owner is left running a place whose only dish is hangover soup for a masked stranger who picked the messiest table in the house on purpose. The owner doesn't argue. He cheats a little game. Styles' skill called Poker Face quietly switches on so none of the irritation reaches his expression. The same straight face he uses to give regulars a pass without admitting he's keeping score. He sets the two bowls down and lets himself stare, half daring the masked man to keep the costume on through a meal. The man calls it instantly, peeling off the mask to reveal a handsome face under light brown hair and violet eyes, and warns that if the staring keeps up, he's going to drill a hole clean through it, which leaves the owner with no comeback and a much more interesting question about who he's actually feeding. The man eats without a single complaint, and when the bill comes, the owner rings up the 2 bowls of hangover soup at 30,001, then watches a gloved hand let a much bigger note drift down onto the table. He says, baffled, that the soup only cost 30,000, and the man tells him the extra is for the other bowls too, the customers he scared off just by sitting there. Then he asks why the owner never looked him up after he gave his name, and explains, almost proudly, that he's got a literal poisonous tongue, which is exactly why he doesn't eat out, and the owner finally gets it. That's why no hunter alive wants to share a table with this guy. Then the masked man lands the line that wipes the smirk off the whole room. He asks, almost idly, whether the owner dyed his hair, because it's black now, and mentions his eyes used to be blue the last time the two of them met. That single observation hits like a dropped knife, because he's quietly telling the owner he can see straight through the disguise. This quiet life is built on. And then, like none of it was a threat, he sets down 15 million won as an advance, calls the owner Hyung-on more time, and leaves him standing there stunned by the sheer audacity of the man. This is the strangest kind of trap. The hunter has an airtight case against the person ruining his restaurant, and he can do absolutely nothing about it. He scrolls a guild forum where one team is openly complaining they get marched to the hangover soup place almost every day, like they're being collectively bullied into it. And right under that, a shop owner asks how you even report a hunter for obstructing your business. The answers are right there. Take your solid evidence to the Awakener Management Bureau, and they'll come immediately, or hand it to the reporter offering anonymous interviews, and every one of them ends with his cover in pieces. The catch isn't proof. It's rank he can't so much as drop the guy's initials, since outing a number, one hunter would split the whole country into warring fan clubs, and the one thing a man hiding from the world cannot afford is to start that fight. The villain obstructing his livelihood is not a rival guild or a monster. It's one masked regular who walks in, beams hello again, Hyung, and orders like they're old friends. The hunter keeps his face perfectly flat, confirms the usual 2 bowls of hangover soup, and quietly loses his mind, because the actual weapon here is the empty room whenever this guy plants himself at the counter. Not a single other customer is willing to sit anywhere near him. So that's the bind in one picture, a man whose entire plan is to be invisible, watching his restaurant clear out around the one cheerful regular he can't legally do anything about, internally swearing that this somehow is obstruction of business. The hunter lands on a plan, and it's a good one. Secretly film the yes ranker wrecking his life and put the footage where the whole country can see it. The yes ranker in question is Lee Se-young, number 7 in Korea, the kind of monster he can only picture behind a segmented mask with purple eyes, which means a phone camera gets him caught in seconds. So what he really needs is something durable and undetectable, built from dungeon byproducts. Then reality hits, he's broke, and gear like that costs a fortune he doesn't have. That leaves the obvious door registering as a hunter, except that door is wired to every alarm he's spent years avoiding. The brand new Awakener Management Bureau, the Lilith Association, may be still sitting on data from his 3 days, the very real chance he cracks a measurement device by forgetting his own strength, and one bad reading, away from the world learning its number. One hunter is alive and pouring soup. He shelves the whole idea and does the only satisfying thing left, which is quietly curse the name Lee Se-young for putting him here. Now broke, and out of clever options, the hunter digs out one of the magic stones he used to leave lying around as junk, remembers people actually want these now, and decides one sale could buy his hidden camera. The official hunter market needs a registration ID he can't touch, so he does the most gloriously normal thing in this entire series. He opens the Tomato Market's secondhand app, only to find his old account vanished, probably deleted for inactivity. He signs up fresh. The app christens him. Mercer cheerfully asks him to turn on GPS, and he lists the stone for 80 million won. And here's the part that actually lands. He's already spending it in his head on warm coats for Haeun and Grandma, and on the surgery for Grandma's leg. Then his phone detonates. A wall of buyers swarms the post so fast, he genuinely wonders if it's broken. And the man who wanted one quiet transaction panics, deletes the whole account, and on the way out types that people were spamming him and some rude user cursed at him. He gets about 10 seconds to feel like he won. He pulled the listing fast, crisis averted. Then a screenshot of the post he deleted gets reposted by a stranger and blows up. The comment count already past 99, and climbing, a full argument running, all circling the same dangerous math and A. Plus magic stone that appeared and vanished in 2 minutes, means the seller is almost certainly a high-ranked hunter. A hunter named Hong Yesung publicly asks the question that should terrify Mr. E's most. Why on earth would a stone this rare get dumped on the tomato market instead of the proper hunter market, while everyone else just begs him to name his price for a private deal? And then it cuts to a blonde youth in a green tie uniform who stares at the listing on his shaking phone and screams that he really truly wants that magic stone, which makes him one more person now desperate to find the man behind Mer-EZ. Korea has exactly one S-rank craftsman, ranked 7th in the country overall, and right now he is throwing his head back and wailing like a toddler because he wants a magic stone he is not allowed to have. This is Hong Yesung, and his handler's entire job today is hovering with a tablet, telling him to stop fussing and that he saw nothing, while Yesung rolls around on the floor screaming that he was promised that stone. And honestly, it tracks, because the man's own skill list is one part, deadline finisher, and one enormous part, procrastinate. Once the screaming dies down, Hong Yesung jabs at a photo of the stone on a phone and swears he can grade it from the picture alone, and coming from the country's only S-rank craftsman, that is not a small claim. Here is why it lands the best gear anyone has ever forged tops out at S-rank, and he is talking about this rock like it sails clean past that. The officials start doing the math out loud. The thing is pure, no impurities, not a trace of monster energy, which only makes it more suspicious, because a stone this good has no business being a no-name listing. Which leaves the question that turns a tantrum into a manhunt with a black market and a hunter market right there. Why on earth would the owner post it on the everyday tomato market like a used couch? Cut to the restaurant where a dark-haired part-timer in a red hoodie is rubbing an ear that will not stop itching. At the table right behind him, the diners are gossiping about the one thing he least wants to hear: some crazy bastard listed an A+ magic stone for 80 million on the tomato market, and the guild is in absolute chaos. Then a customer drops the line that freezes him mid-step over his tray. Even Hong Yesung has slapped a bounty on that stone, and inside his own head he is screaming the exact same question they are: a bounty. Why? He keeps his face blank and keeps serving. Because the part everyone at that table is missing is that the person they are gossiping about is standing right there taking their order. A quiet moment over an open sky lingers on an old line, that even mountains change in 10 years. A reminder of just how much the world can rewrite while a person is not looking. Then the part-timer pulls out his phone, swipes into a post blowing up across Hunter net about a certain golden magic stone, and can only stare at it, muttering that he genuinely cannot believe what he is reading. The world clearly moved on while he was away, and now it is moving on loudly about the one thing he was hoping nobody would notice. Of all the places in Korea, the blonde craftsman who just slapped a bounty on the stone strolls into the very restaurant where the seller is working. The part-timer's inner monologue detonates on the spot, and his poker face skill quietly switches on, gluing his expression shut while every nerve underneath screams. It gets worse because a masked figure with one glowing purple goggle is here too, and the craftsman cheerfully greets the stranger by name as Lee Seong before the two of them sit down to order. Then the protagonist clocks the faint shimmer they raise around the table as a spatial barrier item, serious gear, sealing their conversation off, right before the question lands that is pointed straight at him, without anyone at the table knowing it. You've already found them, haven't you? A spatial barrier item seals a private conversation off from the entire world, except for one fatal hole, which is that it does absolutely nothing against an awakened individual ranked higher than the item itself. Inside one of those barriers, a hunter in a purple gas mask lays out his theory bluntly: the unregistered person this whole table is hunting is simply the owner of that A+ magic stone. The logic is airtight, and that is what makes it scary. Anyone real has the verified hunter market and more than 10 other quiet ways to move a stone like that. So the only reason to dump it on the everyday tomato market at an insulting price is that the seller has no hunter registration card at all, which leaves exactly two kinds of person: a regular nobody or an awakened individual hiding off the grid. And the man they are describing is right now walking the city in a hood with his back to all of them. Here is the part that should not be physically possible. The exact unregistered seller this room is trying to unmask is crouched close enough to hear all of it, in a red hoodie, sweating and shaking and silently admitting that if he weren't eavesdropping right now, this would already be a disaster. He makes himself one shaky promise: to be far more careful from now on, and then bolts, while back at the table the meeting rolls on without him. They run down every other name and cross each one off. The overseas hunters coming in for the equipment auction would just slip in and out quietly. And the newly awakened S-class is a literal minor buried in college entrance prep, not a fighter. Even the masked Lee Seong admits he hasn't found the seller either, which is exactly the wrong thing to be good at when the man you cannot find just sprinted out the door, and the blonde official leaves the table one instruction: it might be bait from someone nasty, so the second anyone finds this person, call him. Back at the shop, the owner is wrung out and doing the math on his own life, because somewhere along the way the country's top hunters quietly annexed his hangover soup place as their personal lounge. He has mentally zoned it: the Lee Seong corner over there, the Yongbin corner over here. Then someone knocks. It is Lee Se-young in his gas mask, and the owner answers the only way he has energy for, which is "We're closed," a line Se-young treats as a friendly opening bid rather than a refusal. The thing the owner actually wants to know slips out anyway. He heard one of them say they were looking for him, and Se-young happily pins the entire circus on him for dropping a bomb on the tomato market in the first place. So the owner retreats into icy formality and calls him Lee Se-young, which only delights Se-young more, since that is a lot of distance from a guy he figures has eaten about 5,000 more bowls of rice than him. Relax, Hyung. Then Se-young stops circling and starts the trap, and he does it as a story about a friend. A friend who made a big mistake purely because he never realized it was a big deal, and who now has every kind of pest swarming him, and wants nothing more than to fix it quietly, without a single person knowing. The owner answers with the one thing he has been chasing this whole time, that this friend just wants to live quietly, and Se-young's smirk says he has been waiting all night for exactly that sentence. He likes it a lot. So he lays the deal on the table. He will make the friend's mess disappear, nice and tidy, and when the owner asks what that costs, Se-young grabs him and gives the cleanest, most unsettling answer available. "I want you, Hyung." Because what he has actually been hunting this entire time is someone strong who answers to no one and is unknown to the public, a search he had nearly given up on, right up until this exhausted soup shop owner walked into his life like the stars had aligned. What the owner doesn't realize is that Se-young is already miles ahead of him. He didn't just guess, he looked into the man, and there was almost nothing to find. The high school he attended and the whole neighborhood his home stood in were erased by the rift. Both his parents died the day it opened, leaving no relatives behind. There is no contract, no bank records, and a phone that only switched on a few months ago with no trace of him existing before that. He goes one step crueler and names the wound directly. The old lady who owns the shop and the niece aren't the man's real family at all, just strangers who took him in out of pity. So after all of it, there really was nothing about him to dig up. Se-young admits he came ready to recruit him on any terms, but realizes the only leverage that exists is this one little shop, so he asks if there is anything else this man wants. The owner says no, and that flat, total no is precisely the corner Se-young needed, because now, eyes fixed on him and smiling, he leans in and tells him it is time to hear his offer. Lee Se-young opens with the nicest knife the owner has ever been handed: a tablet, a hunter profile, and an offer to get grandma's bad leg fixed by Nam Woo-jin, the only A-rank healer in Korea, ranked 6th, the man who runs the Seo-won Guild. It sounds impossible because it should be, and the owner says exactly that. An A-rank healer ordinary people cannot even get a meeting with, does not just drop by to patch up a random civilian. Lee Se-young has the answer ready. Seo-won and Wave have a partnership, and Nam Woo-jin was an orthopedic specialist before he awakened, so asking him to fix one leg is nothing, and that is the exact moment the owner stops buying the kindness and asks him straight why he is doing this. The reply drops the mask. Lee Se-young tells him to his face that he digs into people's lives for the soft spots to exploit, which is rich coming from the guy now dangling a free miracle as bait, and the owner names the unspoken half out loud. Refuse, and you let everyone know I'm an awakened being, so go ahead and say it. What do you actually want? Now comes the actual job hiding under the bribe. Lee Se-young admits he thought about plain blackmail and threw it out as too petty and cliché, and figures the owner is not the type to fold for it anyway. So instead he reaches for the fiend the two of them saw the first time they met. For years now, he says, a strange drug has been moving around, and the catch is that normal drugs do nothing to awakened ones, while this one does everything: more aggression, addiction, and eventually physical mutations into something like that fiend. The owner asks if one drug really does all of that. Lee Se-young confirms it with the tone of a man who finds it personally annoying, and that is why he is hunting the people behind it. The problem is his own guild is too recognizable, so the trail goes cold the second they dig, and he cannot just send a body in because they would either get killed by those scumbags or end up strung out on the same drug, which the owner privately notices, describes him perfectly. The only thing missing is why a man like this cares, and Lee Se-young will not say, he will only explain after the owner agrees to the deal. Tags the entire drug matter as classified, and leaves the threat on the table that staying quiet is healthier than another visit from Jungen. The whole sinister recruitment ends the way only this man's life can end it. The owner clocks that Lee Sayung is just chaining him up with this secret to control him. And his counterplay to a guild's worth of leverage is to physically shove the guy out the door because he has a deadline to hit. Lee Sayung tries to leave on a power move and demands his phone number. The owner refuses, says his number is expensive, and tells him to go sell it at the tomato market, which only makes Lee Sayung grin that they will be seeing a lot more of each other. And he is right. In the worst way, Lee Sayung does drop off the radar after this, but those ominous parting words land exactly as promised, and the owner gets to hear it confirmed out loud. Guys like that will just keep coming. And all the owner can do is beg him not to say something that horrifying. Running a restaurant this popular turns out to be its own punishment. The phone rings. The owner answers as The Hangover, and it is Kim So-young from the Lilith broadcasting station trying to book him onto Live One today. He turns down the free national advertising flat, says they already have plenty of customers, and hangs up. Apparently this happens about once a day. Then a customer sitting there secretly filming with a camera tucked in a bag learns the hard way that this is not an ordinary owner, because he calmly tells them recording without permission is illegal and then busts the whole act by literally hearing the camera running, which is what a hunter's hearing does to a troll who films fake controversies for clout. And right on cue, two regulars fans gasp the names Lee Won-ho and Kang Duchi are one bad angle away from a dating rumor. The kind of thing that happens here constantly thanks to a serial pot stirrer named Hong Yesung. And the cherry on top of the chaos, a delivery comes in, and the already hot place gets hotter when Hunter Jungbin leaves a handwritten "It's really delicious" note on the takeout box, which the thoroughly drained owner briefly considers flipping on the tomato market before deciding it is not worth another message bomb. And just when the man thinks the day cannot get more public, high heels come through the door, somebody blurts out that a giant hornet just walked in, and the blonde woman it belongs to is Honeybee, ranked 5th in Korea, an A-rank hunter who would very much like to know who said that. The owner apologizes fast and quietly asks himself what a top 5 hunter is doing in his restaurant, right up until she bellows for Lee Sayung to get out here and answers his question for him. Of course, this is Lee Sayung's mess too. Then she turns and politely asks the civilian if there is a problem, which leaves the owner doing the only safe thing a hidden hunter can do in front of a ranked 1, poker face on. Full fanboy, channeling his inner heron, clapping along when she tells him to change his color and pulls out her phone. He plays the part flawlessly while screaming one name on the inside, because every single bit of this traces back to the same person, Lee Sayung. All the server wants is a slow shift, and instead a laughing blonde woman blows into his shop, apologizes for barging in, admits she just lost her temper, and then immediately loses it again at a stranger crouched on the pavement over a badly parked motorcycle. Mid-tantrum, she rounds on the server, calls him Shield Guy, and demands to know if he came alone and where Lee Sayung is, and his entire counter to a furious A-rank hunter is to ask her to please use his actual name and maybe order before the interrogation. It works better than it has any right to. She huffs that she needs to cool down anyway, and the standoff escalates into 2 bowls of hangover soup, hers with extra chili. Once they sit down, the why comes out, and it is gloriously unhinged. Honeybee is hunting a magic stone someone posted on the tomato market because Hong Yesung promised to forge her an S-rank weapon to replace her broken one, and the plan does not stop there. She means to bring him that stone, collect the new weapon, and bury her rival Gyu in the coming system ranking update. The flex is how she has been chasing it. She zoomed in on that one photo for reflections, had it analyzed down to the phone model, compared the paper in the background to identify it, and picked the whole image apart to the nanometer like a one-woman crime lab. And it was working right up until a few days ago, when every trace of information on the stone went dead silent. Then the whole hunt collapses on her. The guild's legal team ordered her to drop the easy tracking and take no more easy requests, and she is certain Lee Sayung choked off every source of information she had. She cracks the table with one furious hand, proudly notes she saved whatever was on it, and admits that is why she came looking for him. When she asks what EZ has to do with their guild, the server says nothing. because he already knows the answer she does not. The connection is not with the guild, it is with the guild leader. She caps the visit by signing a gift for his wall and asking if he is a honeybee fan, telling him to come around more often, and he holds a perfect poker face while silently begging her never to return, then decides the autograph is worth it anyway, because Haeon will be thrilled to see it. Cut to the man the blonde spent all day hunting, and he could not look less like the guild leader who runs all of this. He is sprawled on a couch in an eye mask while his suited manager nags him for skipping meals and runs the real business over him. The Awakener Management Bureau is switching on its emergency response system for ranking announcement day and wants their cooperation. The team is taking the dungeon on 3rd Street in Jongno District for researchers to comb once cleared. The Seowon Guild wants a visit, and the manager is even toying with shooting an ad himself. None of it moves him. The line that does is an afterthought, that the hangover soup server, a man with zero interest in hunters, charmed a signed poster out of Honeybee, and he shoots upright, rips the mask off, swears he will shoot a commercial to match that fan service, and orders the PR team called. Back at the shop, a text lands from someone the server has not heard from in ages. He opens it braced for trouble and gets a Lilith hair potion ad that somehow reads as an order to go watch Honeybee's commercial. What plays instead is a public service spot for Awakener registration, hotlines to call, and a notice that failing to report an awakening can cost a fine of up to 100 million won, which the server, still in his apron, translates to "do not register," and they basically kill you. Then the real message arrives from a sender tagged LS, calling him Hyungan, saying he heard the server likes people who shoot commercials and ads. The ambush snaps into focus. The fan, service confession Honeybee pulled out of him, is now bait, and he glares at his phone, demanding to know what Lee Sayung is even talking about. Once a year, an entire country holds its breath while a system nobody can fully explain scores every awakened person and stamps a fresh number on them. And this time the smart money is boring on purpose. The top names have held steady so long that the anchors and one board night office both shrug and call it staying exactly the same. Then a finger taps the update window. The new board drops, and the safe bet detonates. Rank 1 is a single letter J, and every familiar name just got shoved down a spot by a hunter who is only one initial. The part the studio has not caught up to yet is that J is supposed to be dead, which makes this the rare ranking where number 1 is the scariest name on the list, precisely because it should not exist. The reason the studio can't breathe is the obituary Jay was reported dead 8 years ago inside the rift, so a board that calmly lists him at number 1 is either broken or telling everyone a corpse just out ranked the living. The dark-haired worker turns to his blonde team leader for a sanity check. Is he even seeing this right? And the team leader's answer is to stop staring and start moving. He counts up who is even available, keeps a skeleton crew on the desks, and sends everyone else out the door toward Incheon. Because the only thing scarier than a dead man topping the rankings is the reason he might be back there. Worst case, says the Incheon rift, the one that swallowed him may have just resurfaced. Lee Sayong is the man who just got dethroned, and you can feel it on him. The watchers at the monument note he looks calm, but radiates something dark, and at least one of them quietly suspects he is simply furious that Jay took his top rank. He has no interest in talking it through. He tells the team leader to go handle his own hunters, and when the guy keeps pushing, the warning gets specific: stop right there, or he crushes his fingers. Then he turns the loss into a land grab, handing over a message for Ham Seokjung. The Incheon Rift belongs to the Wave Guild, and anything that crawls out of it is his. He just lost the number 1 spot, so he is laying claim to the one thing he thinks might be climbing out of that rift to take it. While an entire country loses its mind, the man at the center of it is out by the recycling in a Brooklyn hoodie, holding a trash bag, getting a rank change alert mid-chore, and genuinely asking what he did to deserve it. He hauls the trash out past a wall of breaking news. Jay has dethroned Lee Sayung. The Bureau swears just no duplicate and no alias. They are investigating a possible error, and Jay was just seen boarding a helicopter to Incheon, all about the guy currently sorting bottles. He grumbles that resurrection is the last thing a dead man should be doing, then runs the receipts since escaping the rift. All he has done is clean trash, ladle hangover soup, look after Hayun, and donate to the Incheon Rift Foundation. By his own math, the only remotely hunter-ish thing he did was put down one stray monster that wandered into the street and report it while playing civilian. So if that is the bar for number one, he figures anyone can be number one. The system pops a window congratulating him on rank 1 and offers a reward with exactly one button, accept, and he wants nothing to do with it. He asks for a reject option that does not exist, flatly refuses on the grounds that taking the prize would only drag him back into the past he ran from, and decides his plan is simply to keep ignoring all of it. The system disagrees. It overrides him, announces it is restoring certain deleted permissions, tells him his Channel 1 access rights in South Korea have been successfully recreated, and then calmly says it is now connecting him to Channel 1 whether he likes it or not, and the man who just declared he would ignore everything goes wide-eyed and manages a single doomed what? Here is a man whose entire life plan was to quit hunting and be left alone, and the system just decided his opinion does not count. It quietly restores the permissions he thought he had deleted, reconnects him to Korea's public hunter network without asking, and basically marches him back into the job he walked away from. He glares down at the little glowing thing announcing all of this, and snaps at it for being a cheap system that has no clue what it is saying, which is the kind of argument you only start losing the second a machine ignores you. A woman in a dark suit steps up to a press conference table, cameras going off in her face, and shuts down the obvious cope the ranking is real, not a system error. That is bad news for one specific person, because it means the name everyone is now hunting was put on that board on purpose. And he knows exactly what that implies. He remembers the Bureau's director, Han Seok-jeong, as someone who only moves when there is clear evidence and a reason, which means somebody handed her both. Everybody in this world is clawing for a higher rating, and this guy walks in to negotiate for the worst one available. He opens by flatly insisting he has no intention of returning to be a hunter, then in the same breath asks for help getting registered as one, because the system already dragged him back, so the fight now is over how small he can make himself look. So he makes his ask plain, give him the lowest rating possible. He is treating a power ranking like a restaurant bill, trying to haggle the number down so the world finally loses interest in him. Across a cafe table, he is busy needling a worn, down hunter named Seo, telling him to hang in there with the exact tone of a man enjoying someone else's bad day. But under all the dry attitude, he is quietly running a negotiation, stacking up the conditions for his cooperation one at a time. And the last one is where the armor drops heal my grandmother. That's all. Everything else was leverage. This is the only thing he actually came to the table for. Picture the kind of trap that only works on a saint. A stranger holds up a dagger and calls it the Laurel Branch contract, swearing its blood seals a deal so airtight it curses anyone who dares break it. Cha Woo-jae isn't buying the sales pitch for a second, asking flatly if he looks like the type to sign something and bleed for it, and then they poison him anyway, while a system line lights up to confirm the basilisk poison just went live in his veins. Here's the part: the poisoner never checked the man bleeding from the mouth on his floor, once killed a basilisk out in the West Sea Rift, and he walked away from that fight with a built-in antidote skill. So the so-called perfect S plus poison meets the one body in the world that treats it like a mild inconvenience, and Cha Woo-jae just quietly waits it out, thinking that without his detox trait, this absolutely would have been the end of him. The funniest move you can pull on the man who just poisoned you is to thank him for the antidote, and that is exactly what Cha Woo-jae does, straight-faced, noting it looked expensive. The poisoner cannot even enjoy his win, sputtering that thanking the person who poisoned you makes him far too saintly for his own good, which is its own quiet way of admitting the poison didn't take. Then the threats stop and the explaining starts, which is never a good sign for the person sitting on the floor with a blade pointed at him. The man in black spells it out: the drugs were never the point. They're just bait to round up test subjects. Because the system answers a person's deepest desires, and what he and his people are really doing is running experiments to manufacture awakeners out of thin air. It takes a special talent to design the ultimate poison and hand it to the one guy who is basically immune by accident. The whole pitch was a dagger, a blood oath, and a curse for anyone who breaks the contract. What the stranger didn't know is that a basilisk in the West Sea Rift already left Cha Uje with a detox skill, so the grand finale of the trap is him sitting up, bleeding a little, and asking what the purple vial is supposed to be. Before any of the real action starts, a voice quietly lays out the horror sitting under this whole world somewhere. People are running experiments to manufacture awakened humans on purpose, and the thing they are leaning on, the system, runs on the most desperate wishes a person has, the desire to live and the desire not to die, answering them like something absolute and omnipotent that does not care who is asking. Which leaves one nasty question hanging in the dark. If you really could build an awakened person from scratch, then what have you actually made? Cha Uje opens his door to a man in a sharp black suit and sunglasses grinning at him like a lottery commercial, and confirms, yes, that is him. The visitor introduces himself with zero irony, Astini Miracle, and says the President Lee Sa-young sent him. Nothing about a beaming stranger announcing he is a miracle on your doorstep has ever once been a small favor. The gift this miracle came to deliver is, on inspection, an insult in a box, a pair of bracelets the system flatly labels Ouroboros Reigns, which exist to curse and weaken whoever wears them, plus a tidy case of vials sold as medicine to weaken rank A. Somebody went shopping specifically for tools that make a strong man weaker, packed them neatly, and delivered them with a smile. Which means the real question is no longer what the present is, but who they think needs to be turned down a notch. To prove the merchandise works, one of them tips his head back and downs a weakening vial on the spot, winces and waves it off with anyway. It's not my money. Then comes the actual sales question, asked almost hopefully, do you happen to have a resistance to poison? And the entire pitch gets answered with a flat, two-word, I refuse. Somebody just poisoned himself for the demo and still got nothing for it. On his way out, the visitor casually drops the small print he has to leave on a business trip abroad for about 3 weeks. So the strange man who showed up peddling tools to weaken a rank, a hunter, is about to vanish for the better part of a month, right after getting turned down, which is a wonderfully relaxing thing to leave dangling over a guy who just wanted to be left alone. This is a man who walks into a government office, slides his ID across the counter, and politely asks to register as a freshly awakened person, which would be a normal errand if he hadn't actually been awakened for 8 years. The clerk congratulates him and asks how long it's been, so he says 3 days to her face and quietly corrects it to 8 in his own head, because the whole plan only works if nobody learns he is anything but new. Then they hand him a form and tell him to pick just one skill to show off for the ability test, which sounds simple right up until you remember he is hiding the rest of them. To stay boring on paper, the hunter writes down that he is just really proficient with a body strengthening skill, and the staffer reads that as defensive and lines up a damage test at the attack power of a D, rank awakened person. He agrees instantly because he already knows the hit cannot actually injure him. His only real job here is to pretend it does. So when the swing lands and the wooden practice sword just shatters against him, he's caught off guard that it felt that weak, then remembers his cue and starts clutching his chest, wailing about how much it hurts, while the staff panic over why a sturdy training sword exploded and somebody gets chewed out for going too hard on a fresh awakener. The reason this is so delicate becomes obvious the second his own status window opens, because the system has so much on file that the summary function just throws an error trying to shorten it. What does load is the part he was hoping nobody would ever see: a hunter logged under the codename J, rank A, and only that low because a curse is currently throttling him, sitting on S+ attributes like strengthen and a stack of hidden skills. And they are not the cute kind. Heart-piercing definitely pierces the heart. Silent step lets him vanish completely. So as he stalls over which single line is safe to write down, the real worry isn't failing the test. It's that the wrong skill on that form gets him quietly taken away. Then comes the part he actually can't fake the ability machine, which he is told to climb onto with his shoes off, while he privately sweats over whether the suppressing bracelet is hiding enough. His fix is gloriously petty. He claims his shoulder still hurts and asks the staffer to go dig up some medicine, then measures himself the moment she's gone for the warehouse. The machine does not play along even throttled. It prints his score as A, which is the one answer this whole charade was built to avoid. So he does the only thing a man hiding his entire power level can do with the proof sitting right there. He winds up to smash the machine, reassuring himself that a light little punch will be plenty. The staffer picks the worst possible moment to come sprinting back asking if he's okay, because that is the exact instant his light little punch connects and blows a burst of blue energy clean across the room. Then it cuts to a pair of guildmen in suits who are, at that very second, smugly betting on whether this guy could even scrape together a D rank and telling each other to handle it perfectly, aging like milk in real time. And what their target actually managed was a level 5 crack, tearing open at the Gu Awakened Person Registration Center, which sends workers scrambling in safety vests, and the guild frantically asking whether anyone's been contacted yet, all over a man who only wanted to quietly fail a rookie exam. Here is a man who got yanked into a monster-filled rift, and whose biggest worry, once the nausea wears off, is whether he remembered to turn the stove off at his restaurant. He clocks that this rift is not that dangerous, reminds himself he has to keep his identity hidden, so he cannot just go around saving people, and figures the rescue team is coming anyway, since the place only closes once the boss is dead. Then the real crisis hits him. Gadgets do not work in here, so he cannot even check the time. His shift is tonight, and if a fire breaks out at the shop, he is finished, which spirals into him lecturing himself that this is exactly why you always turn off the stove before you leave. Outside the rift, the rescue team is barely holding it together by a wrecked car, begging anyone for a timeline on the support squad, and the answer that shows up is the Wave Guildmaster Lee Se-young plus one extra problem. A hunter in a purple and black mask strolls up and asks if they are performing rituals right outside the rift. The whole team short circuits because this is a guy who has never once answered a support request, and now here he is offering to help. When they tell him to wait for the Awakened Management Bureau and go in together, he turns that down in 2 words, tells them to just focus on the survivors, and walks into the rift alone like the backup plan was always optional. Inside, the hunter walks through a grove of wisteria and finds the boss tucked inside an enormous flower-draped tree, and since he has no lighter to just burn the thing, his whole strategy becomes punching it until it falls over. That works well enough to crack open the boss's white flower domain and wake a stag. Like Beast, the system labels the tamer of life, at which point he winds up a real strike and it comes out embarrassingly weak. For a second, he genuinely wonders if his skills have gone rusty. Before it lands, he is in a weakened state, wearing power, limiting bracelets he is not allowed to take off, so the strongest thing in the room is currently fighting a boss with the brakes bolted on. With his fists getting him nowhere, the hunter decides to use a weapon and draws Basilisk's Fang, a sword forged from a basilisk's fang that only the worthy are supposed to be able to wield. And the system immediately rules him not compatible as the blade's venom starts seeping into his body. Then the sword starts talking, and it is furious. It asks if he is crazy, refuses to take orders from someone weaker than itself, and acts like it has no idea who he is. The catch is that the venom does nothing, because his own basilisk venom ability switches on and neutralizes it, which lets him stand there genuinely insulted that the blade will bow to a poison but cannot recognize the master holding it. The tamer of life finally rises for real and turns the field into a hazard of vines and flying leaves, and the hunter's main concern dodging it is not the wounds. It is that he cannot exactly make hangover soup while bleeding out everywhere. His only weapon still refuses to recognize him while somehow also threatening him not to throw it away. So he writes the blade off as useless and decides he will just take the hits and finish the boss himself. He is mid-commitment to that terrible plan when an off-screen voice calls him an idiot, and a second purple masked figure with glowing eyes grabs him from behind, clamps a gloved hand over his mouth, and calls him Hyung like the two of them have a lot to talk about. This is a guy who got jumped in the dark, cursed for supposedly being too weak, with a gloved hand clamped over his mouth, and a taunt about whether he's scared yet. Then his rescuer slaps an antidote mask over his face and warns him that if he lets his hand slip, the gas goes straight down his throat, which is a very intense way to say hello. By the time the man in the glowing lensed gas mask pulls him in close, the only question left is the one he asks anyway. Why are you here? The answer is the flex of the day. The president already melted the master of the crack on his way in. Two men sit too close in warm light. The kind of quiet that usually means the worst part is over, asking each other if it finally is. One of them keeps leaning in, cold sweat dripping, brushing his cheek against the other and insisting it's fine. Leave it. Then he catches a sweet smell and goes still, and his one wide eye blows open in pure horror as it lands on him. The bone soup place. Are you kidding me? Whatever that smell just reminded him of, it is clearly so much worse than the monster. An antlered thing rises out of a dark cavern wrapped in its own swirl of energy, the master of the crack, the boss everyone came here to deal with, and the punchline is that it is already dead. The man in the gas mask explains it flat. The president melted it, and it probably melted right along with the cracked stones. Once a crack dies, everything inside collapses and gets shoved out the entrance, which is a tidy way of saying the place is currently spitting people back into the street. Somewhere else, a bearded hunter is grinding his teeth over the fact that the crack got destroyed before the rescue was even finished, even though every hunter who went in already walked back out. As far as the crew is concerned, that is the real crime, and what's done is done, so the fine is coming regardless. One of them admits he tried to object, got glared at like the man wanted him dead, and simply ran, which is the most honest performance review anyone gives all day. Here is a man whose entire plan was to register as an awakener so quietly that nobody would notice. And 20 minutes before his hangover, Soup Shop even opens. A delivery guy shows up asking for cha unje and unloads 2 congratulatory wreaths from HB Guild for his awakening. That is the starting gun the co-workers and regulars stampede in demanding to know his rank and gawking at the honey. Bee flowers. Somebody asks if he is closing the restaurant now, and he has to swear the place is staying open. So he does the only sane thing and posts a notice banning wreaths, gifts, rank, questions, and recruiting on pain of a permanent ban, then folds face down onto a table wondering how registering as an awakener turned into this much of a circus. The ban notice does roughly nothing. Honey, Bee, Bae Won-ho, and Young Bin all come barging in anyway. People keep smuggling gifts and pass the rules he literally posted, and the part-timer cannot catch a single break in his own restaurant. The one small mercy he clings to is that his actual rank is still under wraps, which, given how fast everything else about his awakening got out, feels like borrowed time. That night, the part-timer clocks a hooded figure with a backpack loitering outside his shop and starts running the suspect list, reporter, or another hunter angling to leave yet another gift, and decides it is neither, which only makes it more annoying that he still has no idea who it is. The mystery solves itself the cheap way when the lurker trips and faceplants, and he realizes it is a student. So instead of chasing her off, he checks if she is okay, walks her inside, pours her a cup of tea, and asks the obvious question, what is a kid doing at a hangover, soup restaurant this late, and shouldn't she be home? The shy kid he just handed a cup of tea looks him dead in the eye and tells him she knows Cha Eun-jae is the hunter called Jae. He does the natural thing and plays dumb, asking what she is even talking about, and she just tells him there is no need to hide it from her. Then she properly introduces herself, Yoon Jizul, a third year at Saebum Girls High School who recently awakened as an S-rank mental-type hunter. And he remembers hearing about exactly that awakener. To prove it is not a bluff, she holds out a glowing crystal fragment and explains her power every time she falls asleep. She sees pieces broken off from another world. One that looks like theirs but is wrong in small ways, where people can share your name and your face and still feel like complete strangers. Yoon Jizul gets to the actual reason she came. The end of this world is coming, and the fragments she keeps seeing are pieces of a world that already hit its own ending, one that collapsed because it could not stop it in time, leaving only scattered wreckage. She tells him she wants to stop the end, that she refuses to lose everything precious to her by sitting still, and asks him twice, almost begging, to just look at what she has seen. He looks, and the snow-covered ruin he ends up standing alone inside is not some stranger's nightmare. It is the West Sea Rift he spent 8 years trapped inside, which means the dead world she is trying to warn him about is one he has already lived in. Picture a ruined, snowed-over city sitting under a vortex the size of the sky, and a voice asking the very calm question of whether this looks like a crack in the Western Sea opening onto the end of the world. The answer arrives as monsters nobody has ever seen before, pouring endlessly out of gates tearing open all over the ruins while one man stands small at the bottom of it. The part that turns his stomach is not the carnage. It is that this looks exactly like the cracks in the Western Sea he spent 8 years wandering, which means the thing he barely survived once has found its way back, and this time it is opening everywhere at once. In the middle of a city coming apart, a blue-eyed man in a black coat does the least reassuring possible version of reassuring. He pats a terrified student on the head and tells her that the moment the signal comes, she does not look back. She just runs. Then he hands her the line every doomed protector uses. He will catch up once it is done, and she should trust him, while staying exactly where the gates are about to open. He is smiling the whole time, which is somehow worse, because a man this calm about telling someone else to run is a man who already knows he is the one not leaving. One man is on his knees with his head down, Honeybee standing over him in tears among the shattered glass, and the conversation is the kind nobody recovers from. Honeybee is being told to calm down and refuses, because how do you calm down while asking if the other man even knows that Yungbin is dead? Then comes the part that breaks it open. Today, Mok Tae-oh died too. That idiot is gone, and the grief stops being about one name and turns into a tally. The kind of loss that doesn't get answered with comfort, only with what you do next. He comes out of the vision the hard way, purple energy swirling, eyes glowing, gasping awake to a voice screaming at Jay to wake up, which is a strong hint about who he actually is. The confirmation comes quietly, from a nervous, bespectacled girl who promises she will not tell a soul that Cha Jae is Jay, and that she will keep it a secret. Then she drops the part that turns a secret into a problem. The management bureau is hunting Jay to prevent the apocalypse. And one way or another, she says, this world is going to end someday, delivered while the most wanted man in it just stands there in the rain. An entire government department is burning resources to track down one person to stop the apocalypse, and the only name they have for him is the letter J. It is not even a cover that takes any effort to find. He is sitting right there at number 1, on the public S-rank board, parked above Lee Sayung and Mok Tae-oh, hiding in the most visible spot in the country. They want Jay badly enough to save the world over it, and Jay is somehow both the most famous and the least findable man alive. The quiet does not even last long enough to enjoy. His phone lights up with Lee Se-young in the contact header and the 4 words every reluctant hunter dreads. I've got a job for you. There is no pitch and no please, just a follow-up text that they need to head to Incheon Port. Because at his rank, a request and an order are the same message. So much for being left alone, the docks are calling, and apparently he RSVP'd by existing. Down at the night dock, the smugglers are feeling sorry for themselves, whining that the Bureau and the Wave Guild keep hunting them down like rats over one shipment, which would be more sympathetic if a hooded man with binoculars and a notebook were not crouched in the dark, doing exactly that. He clocks that someone is about to hit the mutation stage over in Songpa district, calmly jots a note to report it all to Lee Se-young once he can touch base for backup, and then weighs the patient professional option against just diving straight in to trip them up. He goes with diving in, because waiting for backup is for people who are not already the scariest thing at the port. All the smugglers find on their bound captive is a hunter license in his apron pocket and no ID. So they confidently file him as a common D, rank nobody. Then one of them punches him and immediately starts screaming about his own hand. A second tries a metal bat that folds against the man's skull, and the crew is reduced to asking whether his head is seriously made of stone. He just sits there in the ropes letting them work it out, which is the polite way to tell a room full of criminals they kidnapped the wrong apron. Here's the part where the math finally catches up with the kidnappers. Their own men are crumpled on the floor, groaning about dislocated bones, and the prisoner they roughed up has not got a mark on him. He snaps the ropes off himself like wet string, tells them flatly that the problem is they are simply too weak, and then, free, calm, eyes lit red, invites the entire room to come at him all at once. They spent the whole night trying to figure out what they caught, and the answer was always going to be something that wanted to be caught. Meet Choi Goyo, a Wave Guild support hunter who introduces himself with a straight face and the codename Romantic Opener, which tells you everything about the dignity level here. His one assignment is to babysit a D rank part, timer named UJ, and make sure nothing happens to the poor harmless guy. You already know the harmless guy is the one we should be worried about. The D rank part timer, Choi Goyo was assigned to keep safe, is standing in a dark alley with blood on his face and his hand, eyes lit up, looking like the last thing on earth that needs protecting. The only sane thought Choi Goyo can manage this guy is supposed to be the part-timer at the hangover soup place. Whatever UJ actually is, the soup job is the cover story, not the resume. Here is how the babysitting job is going. The guild watcher Choi Goyo is the one on his knees in the alley, and the D rank he was assigned to keep safe is standing over him, handing out a flat good boy like he is praising a dog. The chain of command got reorganized in about one encounter. Turns out you do not guard UJ so much as audition for him. Choi Goyo's actual party trick is a teleport door. Give him an address or a set of coordinates and he can step straight there, no travel required. The only catch he admits is that the door measures from wherever he happens to be standing right now. Extremely handy, right up until your reference point is an alley you very much want to leave. Once the dust settles, some unnamed guy in a turtleneck leans into UJ's face to tell him he looks like a mess, which is rich coming from whoever this is. Off to the side, a body lies sprawled next to a busted open crate packed with wrapped parcels, and nobody is in a hurry to explain what is in them. UJ walked out of this looking rough. The crate and the man beside it are the questions left lying on the ground. Two guys are walking a dark alley at night, and the only thing said out loud is one of them asking if it is really okay to keep using something this rare so carelessly. He gets no answer, but the man he is asking has a memory floating over his head that explains the shrug back then. He used dead monsters as pillows. So while a normal person would sweat over one rare item, this is the kind of guy who would just say he has slept on worse. The grumpy old-timer energy in this room is a trap. The older guy is lecturing the younger one that in his day a sleeping bag was mandatory before you could even step into a dungeon, you little brat, and the kid just shoves him and calls him a total boomer. The joke lands harder once you clock the kid's own line. Anyone would think this man had been hunting for over a decade. He is not pretending to be a veteran for the bit. The boomer complaints are the resume. Over at the guild office, a worker who stayed up late writing reports again decides going home is too much effort and elects to crash in the nap room instead. Bad call. The next thing on screen is an in-world post threatening to spill the tea on the blanket thief, which then quietly gets deleted half an hour later. The universal sign that someone said too much. He went looking for a quiet nap and walked straight into being office gossip. Back in the cramped apartment, the fight is not over money or a monster. It is over who has to sleep where. One of them has laid fresh bedding out on the busted bed, and the other walks in demanding to know what the hell this madness is about. The answer he gets is the host snapping back, asking if he looks like a thief, and ordering him to just go lie on the couch. Two grown men, one broken bed, and the most heated argument in the building is about generosity. For all the yelling, the night ends soft. One of them pats a blanket down over the other and tells him to stop arguing and just take whatever he is given. Then he lies down beside him with a faint smile and quietly asks if he remembers that. What hat is, nobody fills in. The question just hangs there over the blanket, the closest these two get to actually saying they care. This is a guy who used to be ranked #1 in Korea, and his big, quiet life ambition right now is to pass a written test that needs a minimum of 70 points. The catch is, he cannot even sign up for the hunter qualification exam without a certification document signed by a guild master. And the only guild master he knows in his tiny circle is Lee Sayung. So the former best hunter in the country spends his days hunched over a desk studying on the entirely reasonable theory that if he was once number one, a written test should be nothing. Before any of the exam business, there is a note that someone keeps bringing up, and he flatly insists he never handed Lee Sanung any such thing. Then the note actually turns up, held out in a hand, with 4 handwritten words on it: touch them, and you're dead. For a man whose entire goal is to be left alone, that is a strange thing to be denying he ever passed along. Here is the office hierarchy in this place. There is a guild master so prickly, he hates it when people even come near him. And there is a part-timer wandering around in the guild master's own clothes like it is nothing. One of the hunters has a full meltdown over it, while a co-worker just squints at the part-timer studying at his desk and quietly wonders why he looks like he is about to murder someone. Nobody in the room knows this harmless part-timer used to be the strongest hunter in the country. They just know to stay out of his way. For all that quiet menace, the man has exactly one weakness, and it is being called by his hunter name. A girl leans in to tell him, "Boo, that's pathetic, shield guy," purely to watch him crack, and it works instantly. He snaps right back at her to stop calling him by his hunter name. The former number one in the country, undone not by a monster but by a nickname. After all the studying and the murderous staring, it comes down to one room full of examinees at their desks and a single instruction from an unseen voice: "All right, you can begin the exam now." A man who once topped the hunter rankings in all of Korea now has to clear a written test built for beginners, and the only thing standing between him and that quiet life is 70 points on paper. A voice tells the room they can begin, and the part-timer flips over a test he has absolutely over-prepared for, having memorized every single case study of the awakened special law. Then he actually reads it, frowns, and realizes there is barely a single question about the law on the entire thing. For a man trying to pass as an ordinary rookie, the first hurdle is the very normal experience of studying all the wrong material. Word travels fast. People are already arguing over whether this year's brutal qualification exam was too much for him, and a woman throws her arms up demanding to know what he scored. Before he can even answer, his phone lights up with a single word from Lee Sayung: "Congrats," for a result nobody around him even has yet. The part-timer just stares at it and quietly wonders where, exactly, Lee Sayung is watching him from. The supposedly harmless part-timer has somehow dragged a full guildmaster down to the lobby to handle his grandmother's check in personally. In the Seowan Guild lobby, Lee Se-young greets the silver-haired Nam Woo-jin and notes he turned up sooner than expected, and then Nam Woo-jin himself steps over with a clipboard to confirm the patient, Choi Pilson, and her guardian. With the guild business handled, Lee Se-young casually asks the part-timer to mind a kid named Haeun while he steps out, which is how a former top hunter ends up on babysitting duty. He tracks her down in the guild library, a small girl half hidden in the tall shelves, and tries to get her attention with the least confident question of his day. "Park Haeun?" In a world where a system hands out levels and quietly fixes almost anything, the first real problem here is a knee X-ray and a doctor calling it rheumatoid arthritis. Then a system window pops up just to confirm the bad news. This disease isn't governed by the system, which is a very polite way of saying, you are on your own with this one. Turns out the one thing all that power can't grind away is an ordinary stubborn illness. The man running this place does not do small introductions. He raises a hand and rattles off that he is Nam Woo-jin, ranked 7th in all of South Korea, guildmaster of the Seowan Guild, and, while he is at it, the owner of the entire library you are standing in. The catch is that a hunter that important can't promise he will actually be here, which is why he was already scribbling on a memo note before the big speech. Even his own schedule doesn't outrank the job. It starts as a polite question, confirming that the man being addressed is Lee Se-young's assistant, and then the floor quietly drops out. A flashback fills in the rest. Someone was a test subject of an outfit called Prometheus, and Lee Se-young was found in a laboratory, not exactly the resume of a normal hunter. No wonder the only answer anyone can manage is a stunned Lee Se-young. What? For one wordless moment, the memory cuts to the thing that did this, a horned dragon, like monster rearing up over a city already swallowed in flames, skyline and all. There is no dialogue, and there doesn't need to be. Some disasters introduce themselves just fine. The reward for all this trouble turns out to be a sleek black card to something called the Master Craftsman Exhibition and Auction. He holds the glowing ticket up like it might bite and asks the only sensible question, "Why are you giving this to me?" and gets the cheerfully vague answer that it's his reward for retrieving Pro 009, no further explanation included. Nothing says quiet life like being paid in mystery auction tickets for a job labeled with a serial number. Two hikers on a mountain trail are quietly debating whether they should report the strange man barreling down past them, which is fair because the man in question has just thrown his arms wide and screamed that he is finally free at last. He does not stop to explain himself. He leaps off down the path yelling about chicken because after however long up that mountain, his single, all-consuming goal is fried poultry. Here is why everyone loses their minds over this guy in a world where more hunters every year means good equipment only gets scarcer. He is the one artisan who throws a private gear auction every 2 years, the kind of event that can quietly tip the balance of a whole country. So the city treats him like royalty, a crowd mobbing him as the one and only S-rank artisan, which is a lot of reverence for a man whose handlers are currently reporting that he just inhaled 11 whole chickens and is already on his way to the beef place. People talk about the black tickets to that auction like a myth, supposedly worth tens of billions, with none of them ever actually for sale. Which makes it a small problem that the broke shop owner crouched in the dark is holding 2 of them, dumped on him as what his own narration calls a disaster. He is a penniless D rank who can't even imagine bidding on anything. So he does the only reasonable thing a man this far out of his depth can do, decides to just leave the priceless tickets right where they are and pretend they aren't his problem. The gas-masked regular finally gets to his point over a cup, asking the grumpy shop owner whether he has ever been to Songdo, and when the man snaps back asking why he should bother going, the answer lands flat as a brick for a date. Then, before the shop owner can recover, the masked man starts cheerfully drafting the cover story for him. Just tell people you're taking your grandmother to the hospital and shut the shop for a day. And the only objection a man this thoroughly managed can muster is to bark that he should leave his grandmother out of it. Picture a guy whose entire life goal is to be left alone in his shop, and the job answers by sliding a gas mask across the table and telling him to put it on and pretend he's part of the Pado Guild's secretary team. He holds the thing up like it personally insulted him and asks if he's seriously supposed to wear this because nothing says low profile quite like walking into a rival guild with your whole face covered. That's the trap of being this good the second he relaxes. Somebody hands him a disguise and a fake job title. The man dragging him into all this sips his coffee and casually asks what Nam Woojin said back at Seowan Guild, the kind of question that proves he already read the whole room before walking in. The hunter clocks it instantly and decides the guy is a crazy bastard who is just way too perceptive. And that is the real problem, because there is no version of staying low-key while you are glued to the side of the number 2 ranked hunter. He finally caves, and the reason is not money or pride, it is that this man took his grandmother to the hospital and looked after Hyun while he could not. So the guy who only ever wanted to be left alone signs up for the disguise out of plain debt, because somebody took care of the 2 people he actually cares about. You can see exactly where his head is at later, when the shop sign goes up reading closed for the day, reason taking my grandmother to the hospital. The favor curdles into a smiling ultimatum: die with me, or come to Songdo. The hunter shows up suited and tugging at a tie that fits a little too well, quietly unnerved that this man somehow knew his exact clothing size. By the time a slip of paper changes hands and he is told to just call him guild leader and grab his arm, the quiet life is officially over and Songdo is waiting. A man who wanted nothing more than to be ignored gets walked straight past the ticket checkpoint on a VIP pass, marveling that so this is what power tastes like. The catch is the gas mask strapped to his face, because to get into this invite-only exhibition he has to pose as a secretary to the masked Pado Guild leader. He keeps peeling the thing off his face and griping that it wrecks his vision and that he has no idea how Lee Seong wears it all day, which is a very loud way to stay undercover. While everyone around him is busy being impressed by the exhibition, the hunter quietly pulls up his inventory window, and sitting in it are two artisan exhibition black tickets he was never supposed to have. He keeps them tucked away and out of sight, which works right up until a light-haired man named Hong Yeseong wanders the floor with a little handheld device in his hands. Nobody tells you what the gadget is for yet, but a man hiding contraband and an inventor strolling around with a homemade detector is the kind of pairing that never ends quietly. Turns out that little gadget is an unregistered ticket detector built specifically to flush out people exactly like him, and it has just started screaming in the middle of a packed room. Someone calmly asks whether anyone present forgot to register their ticket, and the hunter's stomach drops as he does the math. He has two unregistered black tickets sitting in his inventory right now. So the disguise meant to keep him invisible has put him directly in the path of the one machine designed to point straight at him. Cornered, the hunter does the bravest thing he can think of, which is to loudly announce that he is from the Pado Guild's secretary team here to assist guild leader Lee Se-young, and then immediately gag mid-sentence and nearly throw up where he stands. And the punchline lands before anyone even reacts to him, because Hong Yeseong cheerfully admits he barely got the detector working and accidentally rigged it to react to registered tickets too. So the alarm everyone is panicking over is just his gadget malfunctioning. All that dread for nothing, while the actual guilty man is standing right there trying not to vomit through his disguise. Figuring the false alarm bought him a window to get ahead of his real problem. The hunter takes the masked Pado leader aside and comes clean. He is the one carrying two unregistered black tickets. He expects a quiet scolding. Instead, Lee Se-young's voice drops into something cold, and he grabs him by the neck, demanding to know exactly who gave him those tickets. The hunter blinks behind his disguise and thinks this reaction is far more intense than he ever expected, which is the worst possible thing to realize while a guild leader's hand is already on your throat. He has spent this whole standoff failing to talk the secretary down, so he goes nuclear and just hugs the man, muttering that fine, "Hyung is sorry." And because nothing in his life gets to be simple, the system actually files this away as a move called unconditional apology, the one technique that finally lands when his words won't. Holding the man this close, he catches something he probably was not meant to. The body in his arms is far too cold, almost like a dead person's. He immediately walks it back. No, Lee Se-young is alive, which is exactly the sort of thing you tell yourself right before it turns out you were right the first time. Turns out the reason he can casually hug a man whose touch is poison is a trait called basilisk's venom, which has quietly built him a resistance. So the secretary's poison barely registers on him anymore. The secretary is not buying it, dryly noting that this fine guy was coughing up blood a moment ago, to which the masked man counters that he'd just rather not have to drag a corpse out of here. The secretary finally snaps and lunges for the gas mask, demanding he take the thing off, and the masked man just keeps saying no while the two of them grapple. What spills out in the struggle is the actual grievance. The secretary insists he was strong, armed into showing up by what the masked man brands a multi-billion one-date invitation. A ticket the secretary had been fully planning to quietly resell on Tomato Market until this. After all the wrestling over his own gas mask, the whole thing flips now. It's the masked man reaching for the secretary's jacket, telling him to take it off so he can check a shoulder the secretary swears isn't even that bad. They bicker about it the way they bicker about everything, until the masked man stops mid-sentence, genuinely thrown, and asks whether this man is actually worried about him. The only answer he gets back is silence. A man hiding from the entire country on someone else's orders has only one thing actually gnawing at him, and it is not the locked door. It is that the partner running his whole cover has never once asked what he can do. No assessment before they signed the contract, none after, not even the basics you would check on anyone you put your name beside. He lies back on the couch and turns it over until it sharpens into the one question he cannot answer. Why go to all this trouble to hide a partner you never even bothered to size up? While he sulks on a sofa about being ignored, an entire shadow operation is running just to keep him invisible. Someone is reading off a literal J tracking report. The Awakened Management Bureau has spun up a whole team to find a national hero. And the man behind the gas mask is the reason they keep coming up empty. Sensor data along the West Sea Rift gets quietly doctored. A fake 8-year career is forged, so nobody can dig into his past. And the 5th-ranked hunter Gugu, the one who slips the government like an eel, has just turned up sniffing around. The hero the whole country is. The masked mastermind has just finished ordering an elaborate cover-up, forge the records, feed the Bureau false data, do not let them catch on, and then in the same breath, he gets to the truly impossible problem: 2 leftover black tickets that nobody wants to handle. His subordinate immediately starts sweating and begging to pass them to a hunter called Romantic Opener instead, which would be a great plan if Romantic Opener weren't currently in the hospital. So the poor man ends up chasing his guild leader down a glass corridor, screaming the honorific at the top of his lungs, having just lost an argument to a man whose face he has never once seen. Strip away the conspiracy and the gas mask, and what is left is stranger and softer. The man controlling every piece of the hero's hidden life comes home, finds him asleep on a couch that is plainly too short for him, and just stands there. He grumbles that Hong Yesung should have picked a bigger sofa. He wonders almost to himself whether the guy was always this small. Then he leans down and, soft as anything, says the name Cha Yui-jae, and the man's eyes snap open to find a glowing purple mask hovering inches above his face. This is a man who clawed his way out of a rift and asked the world for exactly one thing in return: a normal, quiet life. What he got instead was a handler in a gas mask ordering him to never let anyone see him, a fake history papered over his real one, and a national manhunt run by people who have no idea the hero they are chasing is the same tired guy lying on a too small couch. He keeps reassuring himself that he is fine now, that the nausea has settled and he has calmed down, right up until he opens his eyes and finds that mask leaning over him. This starts as quietly as anyone could want, with a blonde woman at a cafe counter ordering 1 hot and 1 iced Americano, both large, like nothing in her day is about to go sideways. Then she clocks the silver-haired man next to her, a guy she calls Hornet, and the small talk curdles fast into demanding what the hell he is doing back here. His answer is gloriously unbothered for someone she clearly wants to throttle. Why else would he show up? He came to buy weapons. Her main objection, said to nobody in particular, is that they are really letting back in the guy who nearly wrecked the artisan exhibition last time. The guy in question is standing right there, which is when she stops complaining and just grabs Hornet by the collar, hauling him down to demand whether he thinks he can get away with anything now that he is back in Korea. And instead of denying it, he grins up at her, still dangling from her fist, and asks if it was that obvious, which is not how a sensible man talks his way out of a grip like that. Before the collar grab can escalate into an actual fight, a siren goes off and summons a blonde man in a tan suit named Young Bin, whose entire job appears to be showing up the instant 2 people might start swinging. The blonde woman uses his arrival to twist the knife, telling Hornet to be grateful to Young Bin because that man is the only reason he is still alive. And Hornet, now flat on his back, giving a lazy thumbs up, insists he survived because he prayed like hell. His prayers are extremely effective, and for the record, his dad is a pastor. The mood swerves the second a man in a gas mask slips into a darkened auction, quietly relieved that the room stayed shut. Because if Bae Wonwoo had spotted him, it would have been such a headache. He blends into the crowd just in time for the announcer to unveil the lot everyone came for: a piece confirmed to carry the artisan's insignia of Hong Yesung, billed as the world's only S-rank artisan, the kind supposedly favored by the system itself. So a man who badly wants to go unnoticed has walked straight into a hall fixated on the one name guaranteed to make this a much bigger problem. The bidding climbs past 3 billion won and keeps jumping in 500 million increments, because the lot on stage is a long spear billed as an S+ rank weapon, crafted by human hands since the day of the rift. What nobody else in the hall notices is the masked man going still, recognizing it as a spear, just like the one he used to use. Before the war of paddles can settle anything, a man with glowing golden eyes throws a fist into the air and shouts that the auction is cancelled, slamming the brakes on the whole room the instant the spear finally meant something to someone.